All right, we are live. So, good deal.
Hello everyone, we finally made it on. We had a few technical difficulties that we had to work through, but here we are, Control Chaos Live, on location of course. I'm here with Frank Lee, my partner in crime.
Right, just ask the Attorney General, he'll agree. You know, judge.
Rough couple of weeks, Frank.
Right, absolutely. So, hope everyone had a great week. I hope you learned a lot last week. If you watched the show last week, you saw where Donald and I were talking about cameras and things like that, and I decided to kind of on a whim to convert that camera to full spectrum.
Sure did, yes.
I'm glad I didn't have any difficulties when I did that. But.
I know, I was holding my breath the whole time. I'm sure from the reaction that...
So anyway, the funniest thing about that is if you look at the show, just look at the thumbnail image, that look of utter shock on Donald's face, where it was, oh my God, he's doing this live.
It still gives me a little butterflies in my stomach because that could have went totally wrong in a matter of seconds right there. Right. That's a little tedious job to do there, and I was glad he pulled it off. I was glad he pulled it off for all the viewers out there.
But that just goes to show you how simple of a process it does, where I can actually do it live in front of someone watching in a matter of just 10 minutes because I took time to explain what I was doing. And didn't even have the right tools.
Didn't either. A steak knife.
Yeah.
Fingernails and a steak knife, which we do not. That is not the proper tools to use when taking apart one of the cameras that we were putting on.
We MacGyvered it.
Yeah, we did. We really did. He come through though. You got to give him a thumbs up for that. Hi Cheryl, thanks for watching.
So yeah, and by the way, about my shirt here, because I know if Jordan is watching, she is one of those people that she does a lot for us, just kind of behind the scenes. Yes, I am wearing this shirt on video again. But if you watched last week, you know I wore a different shirt on video. So
he did. I do have him change it up from time to time. He has to. That Punisher shirt, I don't know. He has a little bit of a different attitude every time he wears it. Let's just put it that way.
Right. But tonight we are going to be talking about audio. That's something that a lot of people struggle with.
And be honest with you, 90%, I wouldn't be scared to say 90% of the evidence you're going to capture is going to be audio. Mm-hmm. You know, even though you've got 700 cameras set up, most of the time your EVPs are going to be what you capture on there. Very few times do you capture any evidence on video. Now, I'm not saying you won't capture it. I'm just saying most of your evidence will come from your audio equipment.
Right. So,
hey, Jennifer.
So that, speaking of Jennifer, that, you know, I hear you took, you went by somewhere that had coffee, and I'm having a drink fest.
I know. I brought Jennifer a cup of coffee. I paid her back from when she brought us a cup of coffee the last couple of weeks ago. Right. So I had to, you know, you have to scratch her back. I'll scratch her, you know.
Absolutely. So. Anyway, I was thinking maybe we could brew some coffee with this instead of water.
Frank, I drank one of those earlier. If I drank more than one, man, I'd be bouncing off the walls in here.
I understand. So, anyway, to kind of show everyone what we're talking about with audio, a lot of people don't quite understand the difference in recorders, what they need, which ones work, what's the best way to go.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello. There's so many things. You can spend as much or as little money as you want to on a recorder. But there is a very clear difference in a in an audio recorder and in a voice recorder. So, and I'm not just talking about price, although price is definitely something that you will see, but not as much as you might expect. A typical voice recorder, which you've got a voice recorder. This is a typical voice recorder here.
That is a Sony recorder there. Sony makes a real good product. I've been pretty happy with my Sony recorder. I also have a couple other ones. I have an Olympus. They make really great recorders. Even now, Olympus has brought out with the live listening feature to their recorders now. So Olympus and Sony. And to be honest with you, Frank, I'd like to show everyone my very first recorder I ever took to an investigation when I first started out. What I have here is a $10 CBS digital recorder. This was the very first one I ever bought to start my paranormal career out with. What I didn't know was that you can't take what you record here and put to a computer to review. So I had to learn the hard way. You always have to research your equipment before you buy. So if you want to save yourself some headache, always research the equipment before you buy it. It's been a good recorder, but when you have to go through 3 hours of evidence through a headset with this little thing to where you can't cut out any EVPs, you have to remember what time it was on here with this one right here. But $10 got me started. It got me through what I needed to so I could possibly upgrade until I could upgrade to the Sony and the Olympus.
Right. But yeah, these are voice recorders. And there is a difference.
Hey Brad, thanks for tuning in.
So the Olympus you have over there, how much did you say it was? Or excuse me, not the
Craig?
The Craig, yeah.
The Craig was $10.
So $10, and it records voice. This one is a Sony. These run, what, about 40, 50?
Those were, I think that one at the time I paid like $40 for it.
Yeah, so 40, $50, you know, Sony voice recorder. So what's the difference in these two? Well, either one of these are great for recording, as the name would suggest, recording voices. Dictation, you want to hear a lecture, you can record it. Take voice notes, great. The big difference though in these and one of these, this is an audio recorder. Essentially does the same thing, right?
Essentially, yes. But I have a feeling that it does something extra. The way you're looking and your body language.
Right. It's almost like I'm waiting to say something.
Yeah, it's like you're fixing to teach us something real quick.
Right.
Frank the teacher.
Right. That these, all right, this is, you know, about 40, $50. And this runs, you know, between $79 and $99. The big difference in these two, the audio recorder is, as its name would suggest, it records audio. So, what's that mean? Voice recorder, audio recorder. Well, the biggest difference is this is kind of tailor-made to record the human voice. It cuts off the unnecessary low frequencies, cuts off the unnecessary high frequencies. And it records to a very compact file format that you can save anywhere. It doesn't take up much space. Wonderful for that.
Which is really important when you have a program like we have with Audacity or Acoustica, whichever you prefer, to download these formats to the computer. Because there's some recorders you will buy that you have to actually put to a computer and change the format in order to load it to your acoustic or Audacity or whatever audio program you use to review your audio evidence.
So yeah, these great for voice, but it cuts off the upper and lower frequencies where voices typically don't go. Now that this, however, is going to record those high frequencies and those extremely low frequencies. You would use this to record someone talking to you. You would use this to record like a band playing where you have everything from a bass guitar and a set of drums all the way up to a flute playing at the same time, and you want to capture all of it. This would capture the singer's voice quite well, but the other would be kind of iffy. This would capture the full array of everything.
The full spectrum of sound, right. Pretty much.
So why is that important?
Or the spectrum of sound that we could hear and the recorder can pick up is what I should say. I shouldn't say the whole full spectrum.
Right. So I mean, why would that even be important? I mean, if you're recording EVPs, you're recording voices, right? So just go with the voice recorder?
Not necessarily. An EVP can be found in a different frequency.
Absolutely. Sometimes EVPs come through in frequencies that are much lower than our typical voices. And if an EVP comes through at a lower frequency than this targets, then it might not pick it up at all, where this will. Something else to consider. This records to what's called wave format, or WAV. I know everybody's probably seen a WAV file at some point in time. If you've looked at your computer, your phone, you might have seen some on there. WAV is a lossless format. In other words, there's no compression, no editing the sound as it's recorded to compromise the quality to save space. WAV is like one of the original audio formats used by computers. The MP3 was designed, the way it works is it cuts out what it deems as unnecessary frequencies. It cuts off some off the top, some off the bottom, to make a smaller file so you can store it anywhere. The concept of MP3s, like these typically record to, was designed back when a large hard drive was 5 gigs.
Right.
And so it's all about saving space by reducing quality.
And having that small of a hard drive back then, you had to really limit to how much audio you really could record. If you forgot, say, we like to set out our recorders and about every 30 minutes or so, go in, stop them, start them again. Keep our files about 30 minutes long, because if you have a lot of audio and you try to load up 10 files of an hour and a half each, they're going to take you 2 days to load this thing up to a 5 gig drive, if you can even get 1 or 2 of your files from there to the drive. So it is really great to keep your bursts in short sessions so you can load them up quickly.
Right. But the good thing about it is, with this, it doesn't clip any of the frequencies. It doesn't do any of that. What you heard when you recorded it is what is going to be captured. However, a common problem, have you ever heard anyone say, well, we heard this disembodied voice, but for some reason the audio didn't capture it?
Yes, you hear that a lot of times.
Right. Well, chances are, if you're using MP3, the file, that sound may come through at one of those frequencies that it considers unnecessary and clips out and is never even saved.
So you miss completely out on some evidence because of the frequency being lower than what the recorder actually is designed to pick up.
So whereas an audio recorder doesn't. It's made to capture the full array of sound. So that
We had a phone call come through.
Right.
So everyone on YouTube there, we're also posting
Right.
on Facebook Live as well, and our pause, it just paused the show on us. So give us just a minute, we'll get back going again.
So, okay. So,
there we are.
okay, sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Whoa, Frank, that's too close. Back up. Well, we only have 3 viewers. You're gonna scare them all off.
Okay, we're good.
Oh.
We
Hey, Larry, thanks for watching. Cass, Wes, thanks for watching as well. We appreciate y'all tuning in with us tonight.
that we actually had someone. Okay, our Facebook Live broadcast
Hey, Troy.
is going through the phone, and someone called.
So they had to put us on pause for a minute. So
Right.
we're back, and I believe, Frank, you were talking about frequency levels on the voice recorder compared to the audio.
Absolutely, we right with these, it's going to capture the full spectrum of sound, and it will, it's not going to compromise the quality to make a smaller file. Now, the downside of that is this is going to make for a much larger file that you're having to work with. This file might only be 1 or 2 megabytes per, say, 30 minutes. Well, this one's probably going to be about 60. But you hear everything. And the price difference, you're looking about anywhere from $20 to $50 difference for these two. This is a Tascam DR05. I see it. I mean, you can get it online and by looking for ghost hunting supplies, stuff like that. If you want to pay a little extra, I picked this up at Guitar Center for $79. So
Really good deal.
right. Who knew Guitar Center carries ghost hunting equipment?
Well, I guess you could say that I got mine from a guitar shop as well. This is a different type of audio recorder. This is actually a studio recorder, and that I got from a guitar shop here in Pale City. So we use this a lot of times. We'll hook a cable to it and run it to a mixer, and we do a lot of live listening, which is our great features on the Tascam now. And that's why a lot of teams are going to it. You can live listen as you walk through the building. So now you don't have to wait to hear that EVP that from the question that you were asking. You can actually hear it live as it happens.
So, and like, let me see that one. A major advantage to these is not only can you listen to, you can monitor and hear what's being recorded instantly as it's being recorded. Now, just to show everyone, this is a very popular model, Tascam DR05.
You see a lot of people, a lot of reporters now, sideline reporters on football games. You'll see a lot of them, newspaper reporters, using these Tascams now because they have such great audio.
That's this Tascam and Zoom are basically rivals. This one's a Ford, this one's a Chevy, or vice versa. It doesn't matter,
Mine's the Chevy, yours is the Ford. I'm sorry.
That's these. This one is pretty much an equivalent to this. Zoom makes one for about $99. Zoom H1, very nice recorder.
They have a newer model coming out, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it has even more features than the H2N does.
Right. So there's a H2N, H4N. There's several models. There's the H1 is very economical, very lightweight. A great feature of these, and it is on that on the Zoom H1 also.
Zach, I hate to disturb you there, but our teammate, Zachary Rice. Hey, Zach, thanks for tuning in with us as well. We're going to have to get you up here one night to sit right here and poke out around Frank's shoulder and tell us a little bit about yourself as well. But Frank, he said he likes Toyotas.
Right. And,
you know, I just thought I'd
well,
put
you
that out
just
there.
had to bring your big bearded self up here and talk about it with us.
Toyotas. Toyotas.
So, no, yeah, Zach's awesome, but we give him a hard time.
Yes,
so.
we have to. Keep them on their toes.
But you can see a great feature of this is here. This connects to a tripod mount. Same thing here, just a little bit different location. This hole here is for the tripod. Now, where that comes in handy is on your camera. You know, camcorders have the absolute best mics in the world. Have you ever noticed that?
They have to, in order they won't be able to sell them. Be aware of the type of audio that your cameras have on there. You have to do the research. I've been burned a couple times where you have great picture quality on your camera, but your audio is terrible. And it's just a matter of research. Always research the type of equipment that you're going to buy before you purchase it.
Right. So, let's take this.
Oh, you're breaking out the X grip again.
Right. Yeah, have you noticed I use this quite often?
Every show you have broke this thing out.
Right.
Or do you own stock in this or something?
I should. Many of these I've had over the years. Because
hey, Michelle, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, so one thing you can do with this, and something you've seen me do a million times.
Get in trouble?
Well, yeah.
Oh, well. Too. Oh, you're talking about paranormal. Okay.
Right. Is get this lined up right here. This is what happens when you neglect one of your pieces of equipment. And it kicks around in the back of your Jeep for a couple of weeks. Okay, so I'm taking my X grip. Now, by the way, you can get one of these for like $15.
Real cheap, real handy. Yeah, you can put 4 or 5 pieces of equipment on just this one thing, and it's just a great piece of equipment to have for sure.
I highly recommend it, but don't spend more than like $18 on it.
Right? Yeah, they're $30 is asking way too much for. You can almost take a piece of conduit and make one for yourself. You know, if you're handy and able to do that at home.
Right. So, like I've got the camcorder here. Great video. Horrible microphone. Microphones on camcorders are typically terrible. And even, that's not just on the cheap ones. So all you do is you take this. Now I've got a little adapter stuck up here. So it's going to look a little funky, but it is what it is. So what I can do is I can put this here.
Now, for everyone watching right now, you're going to see me look down and look away. I'm not preoccupied with a golf game or something that I've downloaded. I'm actually watching our show as we're doing it and capturing the comments, and so I can interact back and forth with everyone watching. If you have a question, please post it here in the comments, and I'll see it. We'll do our best to try to answer it.
So, essentially, what I have done, I'm going to set up 2 different setups here.
Wow. Oh, Frank. I've noticed that when you stepped out of the scene, we gained like 10 viewers. And then when you came back, they left again.
They couldn't handle all those good looks in one shot.
I know, yeah. All that personality bubbling out of you.
Right. Okay, so what I've got here is my camcorder and my audio recorder on the same rig. Now, when doing this is giving me, good 1080p video, and now I'm getting high quality audio all at the same time. Now, you're probably wondering if we do this, if I hit record on both of these, how does that work? I'm getting 2 different sources.
Yeah, because your synchronization will be off.
Everybody probably has access to Windows Movie Maker. Go into Windows Movie Maker, load this file, your audio, as music, and then just add your video from here and sync the two together. So to do that, instead of having to read lips or it getting off sync and looking like one of those badly dubbed movies like from the 60s or 70s from overseas, it's very simple. Point your camera at someone. While you have them inside of the camera, have them clap 3 times. Just that's it.
That's a good tip right there. Synchronize.
That gives you, all you do is when the sound comes through, their hand coming together, make sure you can tweak it and adjust it to make sure it matches it on your video. And then simply export the file.
Simple, easy little
free program,
little trick.
$200 worth of equipment. And I mean, you can set up several different types of rig. Told you I have stock in these things. I just pulled out.
How many more are you going to pull out over it?
Well, we only have like an hour. So.
And I have to go down back to the truck too.
Right.
I've already been up and down them steps several times.
Right. After a while, it starts to get a little brutal.
Yeah, you kind of tend to change the show after a few minutes. We were going to talk about this, but I'm not going back down them steps again.
Right. So yeah, and stop talking about that. We're going to talk about poodles and just whatever comes to mind.
Might even talk a little politics.
Right. Right. Because there's not enough talk about politics.
We don't need to do that. We do not need to bring politics to this show.
Right. For the record, it's Obama's fault. Wasn't that what they said?
You can't say that.
Right. I remember those jokes running around.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he did the spoof video about that? Well, funniest thing ever. If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it on there where Obama did the video about everything being Obama's fault. And
oh yeah,
it shows him he like has a glass of milk and his cookie won't fit down in there for him to dunk it. It is hilarious. Go watch that. It's three minutes worth, well worth your time. So in case. So that's all we do, paranormal and politics.
Paranormal and politics. Hey, that'd be a good name of a show, wouldn't it?
Right.
Because most things up on the hill right now is pretty scary right now, I tell you. So that would probably be a good show to have.
Right. We'll call it Paratics.
Hey, look at there.
Copyright.
Every Tuesday night, what would you say?
Paratics.
Paratics. There you go. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock.
So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting my little adapter on.
Michelle says Happy Veterans Day.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Coming up, she says, I think it's Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure is.
So.
Now, Frank loves setting these little Z sticks, X sticks, or Z grips, X grips. He's got so many of them that he'll just sit around the house all day and just put stuff on it and then take it off. And
I used one of these earlier to I used it as a lunchbox and just put stuff around.
Wow.
I held my fries up here. Here's just a couple of different rigs. Like here you can see this camera here, which these record video or audio or still images, and this is one of those that I'd put the power pack on. Come in pretty handy actually. I could run a USB cable up to here and run off my battery pack's power, but now I can do the same thing that I was mentioning earlier, where here have my video, record my audio from here. So 2 different setups with essentially the same thing happening. And with this, I'm not going to be losing any of my audio quality. I'm not going to be losing, I'm going to have a little larger file size. but well worth it in a case like this when you consider what you're gaining.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have it automatically cutting out any potential EVPs.
Right, yes, and that's
of
the big
compression.
thing.
So, yes, it is more expensive, but go with an audio recorder over a voice recorder anytime. It is well worth the extra investment.
It really is. Now, we're not saying spend out of your budget. I mean, every paranormal team or every single investigator has a budget that they work on, because most of us come out of our own pockets with for our equipment. But at saying that, I also would suggest that you do not go cheap on your audio equipment. Spend the extra money. Go on and get that, because you're going to get better quality. You're going to get better evidence, and that's what you're wanting to present to your client. If you take some crappy audio to your client, you're going to build a bad rep for yourself, and you're not going to have very many investigations.
And not to mention, there's a matter of clarity.
Right.
Because a sound that might be muddled and indistinguishable on here
will be a Class A EVP on these.
Right. Or it can work the other way too. Something that could be mistaken for an EVP because it's muddled and not very clear, very faint. This might pick it up very clearly and more loudly than this does, for you to be able to hear exactly what it is. So
exactly.
So it can definitely work both ways. Now, seeing our rigs here, say we're investigating. I've pointed both of these at Donald, and we've done to give our marker to sync everything up. Handy little trick here. Okay, Donald, you take the show. I'm listening to some music.
You can't just throw me to the wolves like that. I wasn't ready.
Did you say something?
Oh, Lord. Now, Frank is what he's doing. You're going to show them that you can actually live listen while you're walking around with the Zig Stick. You got your camera, you got your audio. Now, all he has to do is plug into the headphones, and now you're live listening as you're walking through the building. Which is a great, like I said earlier, which is a great feature to have on these task cams. And not only the task cams, but the Zoom comes with it as well.
Right.
But now, instead of waiting your 4 or 5 days for your client to hear 2 EVPs that you possibly captured that night, you can actually have them listen to it that same night while you're doing it. And that makes just such a better investigation, and it gives your client a lot more of an easy feeling, or whatever EVP you get, but it will give them a lot better clarity of what's going on. Your turn, Frank. You're playing
man, this is my favorite part of the song. So what you can do is, by plugging into the headphone jack here, as I'm recording, I'm getting high quality video, I'm recording high quality audio, and with this, I can hear exactly what is being recorded the instant it is recorded. So if I say, is there anyone in here with us, and we get that Class A EVP, that like you all know, a lot of times you don't hear those then at the time they're recorded, until after you go back and review it later. Then when I ask that question, I hear it as the EVP is captured.
Absolutely.
And say,
we got a question real quick, Frank,
Sure.
while we're in the middle of let's see, have we ever used old cassette tapes for EVPs? I personally haven't. I didn't get started into the field. By the time I got into the field, they already had the recorders there. So I've never really messed with any cassette tapes.
I have.
And thanks, Linda. The setups are really nice. Linda said she loved the flashlight addition to the Z grip.
Right. A zip tie and a $2 flashlight.
You'll be amazed at how much a zip tie is, how it great. It comes in handy during an investigation.
Absolutely. Don't spend too much money when you don't have to. Think MacGyver.
But back to the cassette tapes. Have you ever used any?
Now I've got to admit that I'm old enough. Oh, and hi, Rocky. I just saw the.
Yeah, that's actually came from Rocky there. That question came from Rocky.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, my very first recorder that I used on investigations was one of those 1999 Radio Shack micro cassette recorders.
Oh, wow.
And I had one of those. I had an RCA cassette, the portable cassette recorder. Who remembers the little rectangle shaped cassette recorders that had the speaker on top? The cassette deck was here with the big buttons on the end and the slide out handle.
Mm-hmm. I remember them. Yeah,
Right.
I remember the little equipment there, but I've never used one on investigation.
I actually carried one of those on quite a few investigations as well, with the little external mic that plugs in.
Oh man, you were high tech in '99.
Oh man,
wow.
1999, 2000.
Now tell me while we're talking about the old cassettes. Actually, I have actually never even listened to an EVP from an old cassette tape. Is the clarity any better on an old cassette tape than it is on the new technology that's out today?
Personally, I don't think so. And
I wouldn't think so either, since like I said, technology has been so advanced.
The technology has advanced, and something a constant struggle with the old tape recorders was the mechanical noise, the tape hiss. Those were.
And if you didn't have a pencil, then oh my goodness, I think everybody that's ever had a cassette tape knows that a pencil, you always needed one with you.
Right, absolutely. That, but they were effective. The biggest thing was I always kind of questioned if I got noise on one, especially a very faint EVP, is this bleed over on the tape itself from a previous recording because I don't know if anyone else has ever had this experience, but there have been times that I have bought brand new, opened them out of the pack, what was supposed to be a blank tape or even a blank VHS tape, and it has something already recorded on it. And that does happen. So
you start your recording, all of a sudden Aretha Franklin blares out of that, thinking you have a blank cassette tape. Mm-hmm. Well, Rock says he still has one.
Oh, awesome.
And Laura, which she's watching, so you might want to be on your best behavior now, Frank. Always blaming on me. She says she'd like to have one, and if she thinks it'd be fun to try. Which it would be cool. I would like to sit back in Leyland and try that one time just to see what it used to be like back when they first started investigating the paranormal.
Right. Now something I will say about the tape is the old reel-to-reel recorders. Those things are I haven't ever used one of those on an investigation. I've only used the cassette or the micro cassette. But now, from a music recording standpoint, I love the sound of a recording done on a reel-to-reel. It's just so god-awfully expensive now.
Right, yes.
We will be going digital still.
Yes, we're staying digital. So, but yeah, these are some great tips to have for these recorders. Like I said earlier, we suggest that if you do go with the Tascam or the Zoom, don't be afraid to spend that little extra money, because the quality is well worth it, and we highly recommend. It's one of our favorites that we use. We actually have two or three of these, and we love to walk around and listen. And Frank is annoying me right now. Laura, would you please calm him down? Could you please come to Alabama and give him a whipping?
The interesting thing is you can actually listen live with this as well, so that way what's captured is what you hear. I actually had some good luck with that. Like Like for instance, I'll tell you a little story about what happened to me in one investigation.
Laura says, "Leave me alone." Thank you, Lord.
We'll turn this camera off eventually. We were investigating one location, and I was actually using this very recorder here. Identical pair of headphones, very similar camera actually. And I think I was using this particular grip because this is one of my older ones. You can kind of tell by the wear on it here. And
you have definitely got your money's worth.
This one has traveled many miles.
It looks like we need a roll of electrical tape. That'll fix just about anything.
I should probably buy another one, shouldn't I?
Why don't you just go to your truck and get the 5 you have already in there? But that's up to you. You want another one.
Right. But we were investigating at a place. It was an old sanatorium. Now the first floor was empty, and there were only 3 of us in the entire building. We had left the room where we were storing all of our equipment and had everything set up. And I had this recorder going, set of headphones that were identical to this. You know, had my little plug in to the headphone jack, so I'm hearing what's being recorded as it's being recorded. And what do? I set it down. The 2 people I was investigating with were several feet away from me. So I just kind of sit the recorder down and I clap in front of the camera, you know. I set it away, angled at me, and I go. Well, the next thing I heard was through this, I recorded a female voice coming from an empty room saying, "Come in."
Oh, wow.
And the interesting thing about it, the room was empty and the voice did not match anyone that was there, because it was me, another guy, and a woman there. It was actually Laura was there, and we had one of our friends investigating there, and it did not sound at all like Laura. And I heard it, and you hear me, if you listen to the audio of that, you hear me actually stop and say, "Wait, I just heard this voice come from here." And I was able to react to it instantly. Absolutely. So that is a very, very good way to do that, is by using this. And like we were saying, for the added quality that you're going to get, and not having to worry about it. You know, a voice recorder, sometimes those aren't really meant to be transferred and saved, and those, think more for quick notes,
lectures,
things like that. It's not really meant to be transferred to a computer, uploaded. It's more of if you compared it, I guess a good way to explain it. This is a fancy journal with good lined paper and you know, a good rule on it and everything. You know, that's these. These are nice, high quality notebooks. These are more like Post-it notes.
Good analogy.
So
good analogy.
Think of it like that. Post-it note, notebook. So voice recorder is your Post-it note. Audio recorder,
laptop
is your, or voice recorder is your Post-it. Audio recorder is your notebook. Think of it like that in those kind of terms. Because these are made to be easily transferred to a computer, to work with programs for editing, like clipping.
Absolutely.
And combining with video. So always think of that.
And also, if you are like us, where we like to add several different things, several new things to our investigations, we have introduced now to some of our investigations infrasound. Mm-hmm. So, and when you introduce something like that, this also helps out. These will not pick up some of the lower and higher frequencies, like we were talking about earlier, compared to the Tascams.
That's absolutely true. These only record to our. These will record down to somewhere around 18 to 20 hertz. I know that may be Greek to a lot of people. Our human hearing cuts off around 20 hertz. Anything below that, we just don't hear it. The sound pressure affects us, but we don't hear it. That's when it's lower than 20, they call it infrasound. It's actually, we could do a whole show on infrasound.
We could, yeah.
Because it causes a lot of crazy things to happen.
It really does.
We'll do that in the near future. We'll talk about that because
we're actually working on some programs and some software right now, so we can actually take you on an investigation and show you some of these experiences that we have been adding to our investigations.
Right, and infrasound is something every single investigator out there needs to know about because it will fool you into thinking a place is haunted when it's not.
When it's really not.
And matter of fact, some homework for everyone listening. Go Google Vic, V-I-C, Tandy from Coventry University. Trust me.
It'll be well worth it.
Yeah, Google Vic Tandy and infrasound. Quite an interesting story. But like I was saying, this cuts off around 18 to 20 hertz. Most of these don't go below 60. Some may go to 40. A lot of them won't go below 100. So that is quite a large gap in frequencies that this isn't even hearing.
Absolutely.
So, and
tell everyone where the range that you mainly find most of your EVPs. What hertz is that? You know,
a lot of them come through in that near infrasound range. That just right at that level where our hearing stops.
Right.
So you're looking right around between, sometimes as low as 12 hertz, sometimes maybe around 24, something like that. But a lot of times they're coming through in that low frequency range that neither of these those would even consider recording.
Yes.
And I just seen Laura's comment there, and yes, I don't know how she does it.
I was going to ask you about that.
Go check out Outcast Paranormal's Facebook page, everyone, because she posts a lot of the stuff that she gets. She gets some of the craziest EVPs of anybody I have ever met in my life. It is insane. That some people seem to have ghosts talk to them a little more than others. It's like they don't just talk to her. They say the most random thing that they can possibly think of. She finds those ghosts with Tourette's syndrome.
Oh, really? Well, wait a minute now. Are you with her when she captures these EVPs? Because sometimes I feel like I have Tourette's when I'm when I'm with you. So it possibly could just be your energy, you basically is what I guess I'm trying to say. But
that she she'll send some of them to me when she records them, and it blows my mind. It's like I don't have a clue how she gets this.
I know. It's crazy how some people can get so much better EVPs, and when you're getting one words and stuff like that, and then you hear Laura's and she having a conversation with these things, it's like, how do you do it?
Right. And that kind of goes to, without going way off the deep end into the scientific side, with only a few minutes left.
Daniel Watley says, let's see, is your name Frank Lee? This is Frank, and I'm Donald. Daniel, thanks for tuning in with us.
Yeah. Well, wait, I don't know if I want to tell him I'm Frank Lee or not. Do I owe you money?
We didn't think about that. Have we been by your house anytime recently? So it's according to who's asking is what we're trying to say.
That no, but it you know the thing you have to think about is, you know, how are we affecting our environment?
Right.
You know that.
What kind of energy are we putting off?
Right. And that kind of makes you wonder, like in the case where, like we're talking about with Laura, where we go there, I might not get anything whatsoever. And, you know, they're over there going off like they've got Tourette syndrome with her. And it is, you know, it makes you wonder, well, what's the only difference? We're in the same environment, same time, using the same equipment. The only difference is, you know, me versus her. Even when we're in the same location, just a few feet apart from each other.
Exactly. She'll answer a question to where they'll answer it, and you could ask the same one and not even get a response.
Right. So that kind of goes back to how much of a catalyst are we in our investigations.
And that's why we try to push teams out there right now to expand their research and their investigations. You know, over the last 10 years, investigations have been about the same, cookie cutter, same thing over and over again. And if we want to keep on gathering information and try to figure out ghosts real, spirits are real, where do they come from and all that, we're going to have to expand our knowledge. We're going to have to expand our investigations, go outside the box in order to propel the paranormal field.
Right. You can't keep doing the same things over and over again and expect some kind of different result.
Right. And now we're not saying what you're doing now is wrong. Not by all means. No, not. We're not trying to say that. Well, basically, what we're trying to say is add more research to your investigations. Don't be afraid to try new equipment. New equipment is always good to add to it, but don't be fooled by the equipment out there. Always do your research on it.
Right. Always. I like the simple saying of question everything.
Yes.
So that you know, hopefully some of this will help you, you know, when you get out and investigate. Kind of give you a little bit. I know a lot of people have questions on what's the difference in a voice recorder versus an audio recorder. Is it worth the extra money? Things like that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Pay the extra $30, $40, $50, whatever. But you'll be glad you did. The quality of what you get is going to be so much better. So so that will definitely help you out. And the main thing is to look and you know, see if you know, how you have to look and see how could this help me, and if I were hearing more, if I had more clarity, would it better my investigations?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it would, no, hands down, because I've used both, and after using the higher quality for so long and seeing what I was missing and what I was misinterpreting.
And what the client and the evidence that we're gathering for the clients that call upon us, how much evidence we were missing and not turning over to them, because we didn't have the right equipment to do the investigation. Not necessarily not the right equipment. We weren't scanning the right frequencies for the EVPs. We weren't looking in the right places.
Right, absolutely. So that being said, when you get used to that better quality, it's hard to go back, because you do see how much you're missing, how much you're misinterpreting.
Yes.
So definitely do that.
Linda says she thinks her printer is haunted. I have a laptop the same way. I think really is haunted myself. So you're in great company with that part, Linda. So I think we all have a piece of technology that we think is haunted nowadays.
Right, absolutely. So, so I hope everyone has learned a little bit from that.
Absolutely, yes.
because there's not much out there to really guide you, really say, okay, do this, don't do that. And so that's why we wanted to cover this. This is one of the most common questions that we get asked about. So,
oh, another common question is, no, we are not selling any of this equipment. I was actually asked today while I was in town from someone that watches the show. He come up to me and said, hey, are y'all selling any of that equipment? No, this is not a sales pitch. This is just a demonstration of how all this equipment works. So,
right. I don't know. I don't get paid till next week.
But I will sell Frank for $25 right now. Goes to the closest bidder, first come, first serve, and go.
Right, well,
no, Frank. $5.
No.
$4. I'm stuck with you, Frank. I got to get at least $4 out of it. At least a cold drink or a Monster drink or something out of it.
Right. What it is that I'm priceless.
Priceless.
Yes, it's priceless. So that's got to be what it is.
You're something, Frank, but priceless is not one. Priceless is not it.
So
Laura says she'll pass on $4. $3, Laura. Come on.
She said I was worth $5 last week.
What have you done between now and then to make your stock go down?
Nothing out of the usual.
Well, your usual is pretty bad, Frank.
Now I see the problem.
Oh man.
That being said, as you can see, we like to do serious research, but we like to have fun doing it.
Absolutely.
And so I know a lot of the things that we do talk about are a little repetitious at times. Sometimes it can be things that you would typically consider boring, but just because it's not as exciting as maybe what you'd see on TV or something like that, doesn't mean that it's not exciting in itself to do it. And I encourage everyone to have some serious fun doing
Absolutely,
this.
Yeah.
Do serious research, but have a lot of fun doing it.
Absolutely.
You can see
because it will get monotonous. I mean, it really will. I mean, you'll get there, and about 5 hours into the investigation, you haven't caught anything, no cold spots, nothing has happened, and you're like, man, let's pack up and go home. But you can't do that. You have to give it enough time, at least a 6, 7, 8 hour investigation.
And hopefully you'll get lucky and find some people that are fun to harass.
Absolutely, yes. That's always fun.
So with that being said, everyone have a great week.
Absolutely, yes.
And
hey, we need to remind them of the show next week. Yeah. We're getting closer and closer to the Iron Bowl. For you that's out of the state of Alabama, the Alabama and Auburn game's coming up in a couple weeks. So that means in about 3 or 4 days, Frank and I will not be talking to each other much. We're going to go ahead and pre-prep for the game. And so down here for about that week and a half, it's kind of like a state divided. So
right. I encourage everyone from out of state, travel through Alabama next week. It will be awesome.
It will be.
Right. You think we're crazy now?
Right. Yes. Especially when you encounter the Alabama side of it. The Auburn side, hey, we're great people. We're cool. Right. Come hang out with us.
Yeah, the bad thing about those Auburn fans is they just don't know what they're saying.
See what I mean? That's what we have to deal with. Especially if they win. That's all year long we have to deal with that. But that's not going to happen this year.
So it'll be fun. And next week we'll tell you about the bet that going on. It's going to be awesome. Anyway, we got that going on. So don't miss that. And
Frank, I just sold you. I have. Yep. Laura said she would give me $1.75. That's a Fanta orange drink right there. I'm coming to collect, Laura. We'll see you in about 15 minutes.
I feel special. Really.
Actually, got more. I started high. To be quite honest with you, I started way high.
That's okay. We're gonna have our Alabama Auburn show next week.
Yes, we sure will. So
that being said, all you veterans out there, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Have a happy Veterans Day. And everyone, have a great night. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.
Next Thursday at 8. Thanks to everyone for watching. We had a great time, and be back next week for sure. See you as soon as Frank hits the button.